What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about LeBron James and his comments about the NBA's play-in games for the NBA playoffs. We're going to talk about what that means for the Lakers, where they currently stand, all that and much more coming your way right now! Hey, Trash Talkers, it's Mike here. Over 93% of you who view our show each and every day are not subscribed to the channel. If you could hit that red subscribe button, it would help us out tremendously, and it is completely free for you guys. If you want to stay up to date with our daily content, then click that bell icon and you will be notified every time we go live. Nick and I both really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and we can't wait to keep making more daily content for you. All right, Nick. Well, LeBron James made some news earlier this week, and it wasn't for a good reason. It wasn't for any of his play on the basketball court, seemingly because he's injured yet again. But LeBron James has made a statement against the NBA's rules of the play-in, the playoff play-in that allows the 9 and 10 seed to play a game, the 7 and 8 seed to figure out who's going to be going to the playoffs. And at this point, it's a little curious as to why LeBron James is making this statement. Can you enlighten us as to why?
Yeah, well, LeBron James now looks at the standings and says, wow, the Lakers have fallen quite a bit. In fact, the Lakers are currently the sixth seed in the West, and they are possibly going to continue to fall now that Dennis Schroeder has been hurt and is out indefinitely. We don't know when he's coming back. LeBron James is dealing with injuries, and Anthony Davis, who knows how healthy he actually is. So it's TBD to know how far this team is going to fall in the standings, which is going to leave them in a bad spot near the playoffs, where they might have to play the playoff plan, which was put in place last year, where the 7 and 8 seed will play and the 9 and 10 seed will play, and whoever wins against the 7 and 8 seed gets the 7th seed. Whoever loses gets to play the winner of the 9-10 seed, and the winner of that gets the final spot in the 8th seed as the final team in the playoffs. So the Lakers, if they continue to fall, they're for sure going to be one of those teams that plays in the play-in, and they have a potential of losing those games and being out of the playoffs altogether. And at best, they'll be a 7 or 8 seed and playing the top two teams in the West at the very start. They'll have an uphill battle, never playing a home game throughout the entire playoffs. So they're going to be struggling. That you can't expect that your turnaround is going to happen mid playoffs. That's not really how it happens. So LeBron James is scared right now. He's worried that his time with the Lakers isn't going to be as glorious as he wants it to be, as he thought it would be.
Yeah, I take a look at the timing of this statement, right? Because we talked about, or you just talked about, how this rule was actually implemented last year during the shortened season where they had a play in. And, this is something that was going to affect the bottom of the Eastern and Western conferences. And all of a sudden, LeBron James has a problem with it because the Lakers are about to enter the play in, because they are about to be in a position where they're going to have to fight and claw their way into the playoffs. He is not used to that. He is used to being handed a playoff spot because of the work that they did in the regular season. Now that that's not going to be the case for them, he has a problem with the new play-in rules, and it's just curious to me why he believes that he deserves to be in a playoff spot when his team has not shown it so far. Obviously, they've dealt with injuries, but a lot of teams have too. And you know what? Injuries are part of the game. And sometimes it's not just going to, fall upon you to end up being the number one seed and you get to have home court advantage for the rest of the playoffs. It doesn't work like that. If they end up going into the playoffs as the number 7 seed, they'll actually be playing the Phoenix Suns, which is going to be a very tall task for them. If they go in as the 8 seed, they will be playing the vaunted Utah Jazz, and it is going to be one hell of a matchup. The fact that the Lakers are currently in 6th place in the West and they are currently moving backward is not a good look. The only thing helping them right now is the fact that the Dallas Mavericks seem to be on a slide as well, which could end up stopping them from being put in the play in. Either way, LeBron James is in a position where he feels uncomfortable and he wants to come out and talk about how unfair the NBA and their rules are versus just playing basketball and making sure that his team is in a position to win. I just don't agree with his timing, and I don't agree with his stance at all. Nick, I'm going to ask you a question though. Do you like the play in? Do you like this idea that the NBA has implemented?
I actually don't mind this idea. I think that this is a very interesting way of giving teams who are just on the outskirts of the playoffs, the 9 and 10 seed, a chance at actually making it into the playoffs because those games are usually within a close margin, a few games. And so you can't let a couple games, which could have been caused by anything, to say that you don't make the playoffs. I do like this idea. It makes it more interesting and it makes players have to compete harder to be a 6 seed or better.
Yeah, one thing I like about the play-in is that it's not a series, it's a single game. So it is one game of basketball where you have to bring your absolute best. And if you have an off shooting night, if you have a bad defensive night, it could end up costing you your entire season. And again, this is what I attribute to the scaredness of LeBron James for the Lakers falling into this position. I believe that any team is vulnerable at this point. Bad defense, bad shooting, it could cost you your entire season, and that would be a detrimental way to go home. And at this point, I love what the NBA did with this play-in. I'm looking forward to how the 9 and 10 seed gets figured out, how the 7 and 8 seed get figured out. I think this is a really good way to figure it out, and I'm excited to see how this can all work moving forward. All right, well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.